New York Jets head coaching talks are intensifying as Rex Ryan has a confirmed interview with the New York Jets, along with Aaron Glenn getting a huge update as a potential head coach for the New York Jets, while the Jets look to find their next group of guys to lead this team, hopefully back to the NFL playoffs for the first time in 14 years, and we're going to break it all down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jets Digest. It's Chris and Matt here, and if you guys like the content, make sure to subscribe. It helps us out a ton, and maybe if that happens, Matt can finally get a background, but we don't allow him to have one right now because we are not at 20% subscribers. However, we'll try to ignore that for Matt's sake. Look, guys, there's obviously been a ton of head coaching rumors, and to start off with Aaron Glenn, as a guy who we've talked about less than Rex Ryan, so we'll talk about Glenn first. As mentioned by JPA Football, Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn will become the Saints' next head coach, a source told Tony Pauline. And as the quote goes, and while several candidates have been connected to the Saints' next head coach, league sources say that when it's all said and done, it'll be Aaron Glenn who lands the job. Now, on top of that, there's even more news to go over with Aaron Glenn. And taking a look at that, CBS Sports did reveal that Detroit Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn is expected to be a top candidate for both head coaching positions with the New York Jets and New Orleans Saints. Now, unsurprisingly, Aaron Glenn is one of the top head coaches or head coach candidates around. Though he's never head coached before, he is a former NFL player. He played for the Jets. He also played for the New Orleans Saints, meaning he does fit on both teams. And on top of that, he has been coaching a Detroit Lions defense that's been very, very good this season. I mean, the Lions defense has held up despite the fact that Aiden Hutchinson had a horrific injury. The Lions have also dealt with a couple other injuries to their defense, and it feels like they haven't even lost a step. They haven't missed a beat despite these injuries. It's been a next man up system. He comes from Dan Campbell, and Dan Campbell, I mean, he turned the entire Lions culture around very, very quickly. I mean, the Lions are historically one of the worst teams in NFL history. Yet once Dan Campbell came in, and the first year, they were not a good team, but after that, we saw them turn it around. We saw Jared Goff's career revive because Dan Campbell put his trust and put a ton of work into helping Jared Goff find the player who he showed he could be when he was the first overall pick. Now, is he first overall pick great? That's up for debate, I'd say. Probably not, as Matt shakes his head. But he is a very solid NFL quarterback. The Jets need coaching who will both bring culture and bring stability to this team. That's what Campbell did for the Lions, and that's what the Jets would hope that Aaron Glenn can do for them. Glenn has been on Jets teams in the past, both successful and not successful, so he knows what it's like. He knows what it's like to be a New York Jet. He understands what the Jets will need to do. He would probably be a great option. I think the scariest part for Jets fans is most Jets fans, including both of Matt and I, have called for a offensive-based head coach. Now, obviously, maybe the number one prize coach of this offseason coaching cycle will be Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. It'll be Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel as the two top guys. Now, Ben Johnson opted to not leave Detroit last time around, liking the position he was in, and so he'll probably take a good look at the openings. Now, there's 3 openings right now between the Chicago Bears, the New York Jets, and Detroit Lions, and these 3 options, I mean...
And the Saints. Saints are the last opening.
Not the Detroit Lions. I'm losing my mind. Thank you, Matt. But, I mean, the Saints are objectively the best choice here for head coaches. Most of them, you look at these 3 teams. Now, the Bears are interesting because of Caleb. The Jets are obviously third in this scenario, looking at where each team is. And you kind of look at it, and you have to understand maybe the Jets won't get the number 1 guy. There's also probably going to be some other firings. It would be pretty surprising if we only see 3 head coaching openings. Though, on the turn side of that, Matt, that could be good for the New York Jets if there's only 3 openings, as there's less of a pick of a litter. That could mean Ben Johnson will stay, maybe Aaron Glenn as well. But it does feel like Aaron Glenn's going to get head coaching offers, so it does become interesting.
So the update on Ben Johnson, bad news if you wanted him as the New York Jets head coach. He's taking an interview with the Chicago Bears, and he said he was not going to take an interview of a team that he was not highly interested in. They have Caleb Williams, first overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft, highly talented quarterback prospect. That's a really, really high priority head coaching job for a new head coach with an offensive background. So Ben Johnson, that's bad in terms of landing him. This report for Aaron Glenn is bad if you wanted Aaron Glenn, because it does look like he's going to the Saints. But something that we're forgetting about with Aaron Glenn, if he takes over the Saints, that would free up another head coaching candidate who has been the odds-on favorite so far this head coaching cycle. He was the odds-on favorite for the New Orleans Saints head coaching job. That is Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady. He had a high coaching position on the offense of LSU in 2019 when they had Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and put up one of the greatest offensive performances in college football history. That could be another option for the New York Jets offense. We're also hearing that teams are going as far as to think about how much they like their own head coach, even if he's still there. But just the fact that Mike Vrabel is possibly available, teams are thinking about firing their head coach to go pursue Mike Vrabel. And we know Mike Vrabel interviewing with the Jets. We know he's interested with the Jets job. And I would also argue, you said the Jets being the third most likable, the third best situation for a new head coach. I think I could argue, of course, I'm with you. The Bears are the best position with Caleb. But I think the Jets are the second best head coaching opening because the New Orleans Saints, they are in a really bad salary cap situation. They are paying people way too much, namely Alvin Kamara, way too much money, Derek Carr, way too much money, some defensive guys as well. So the new coach is going to be handcuffed, and we learned today that the head coach, whoever takes that job, is going to be handcuffed by being forced to keep the coaches on the staff already. He's not being able to choose his own staff. That's another reason why we think Aaron Glenn is going to be going to the New Orleans Saints, because there's been another connection with him and their GM there, and why they would like to keep Aaron Glenn there, because he would keep all the other coaches in their spots. We know you got to let the GM pick your head coach, and then when you have the head coach, he needs to pick his other coaches so he can actually put his stamp on the team and create a culture himself. So if he's not able to pick his own coaches, that does not bode well for him for the future, because the New Orleans Saints, their coaches can't be that good. Maybe they're not that bad, but with the amount of games they lost this year, how good could they really be? So I would argue the Jets, even though Woody Johnson is a madman, I would argue that the New York Jets, with the talent on this roster and the New York market, meaning you save this team, they will love you forever. With that also in mind, I would argue the Jets are the second best head coaching opportunity for first-time head coaches.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously the Saints salary cap situation is something I 100% overlooked, but it is true. I just feel like with the New York Jets, you are going to have to deal with that fear of Woody Johnson trying to take control of the team, and the New York Jets' lack of a GM right now is a big question mark, but that could fall into some coaches' favors. Now, I've been vocal about this before. I would rather just hire a GM first. I think it makes more sense to hire a general manager so they get their say in a head coach, so they get to pick their own guy. I think it all makes perfect sense. However, if you have the chance to hire Mike Vrabel, you should. You hire Mike Vrabel and ask questions later. It's hard to imagine any GM would be against this, especially when the Jets also have the 33rd team consulting them. It's not like they just have Woody Johnson making decisions. They have two former front office guys. Now, I would love John Robinson as the Jets GM. I know he made the A.J. Brown mistake. There's no way to save that terrible, terrible move. But outside of that, I mean, he did draft A.J. Brown. He drafted pretty well. He was a solid GM, knows Vrabel. It would get Vrabel the job. I also like the Falcons option, or the former Falcons general manager,
Thomas Dimitroff?
I was going to say Kirkhoff. That's not right. That's two guys named Kirk having
he's my pick right now for GM.
I would like Dimitroff as well. It just feels like the guy knows what he's doing. Made the trade up to draft Julio Jones, which obviously worked out super well for them. Obviously, the Matt Ryan pick was successful. Dimitroff, I'd say, is my top option. I'd like John Robinson. He's made mistakes, but he does also seem like a solid general manager. Those would be my top two picks. However, you look at the team, they're going to interview so many guys for this head. They're going to have the most extensive interviews of any team.
As they should. They're
Absolutely.
not in a rush. They need to interview the most possible people to get the best look at the field of potential candidates.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the Jets and the 33rd team who's consulting them. First of all, Mike Tannenbaum, GM of the Jets, so obviously he has love for the franchise. He's friends with Woody Johnson, all that. He wants to make things right. But you have to imagine, whether you're a GM, whether you're a head coach, whether you're a high draft pick, whether you're a free agency signing, there's that enticing thing of being on the group that brought the Jets back to the playoffs. There's that excitement of, and I know this is not a reason to take a job, so I'm not saying that, but there's that bit of excitement. And you know the 33rd team wants to try to go out there and be a big reason why the Jets got revived. I mean, they helped out the Commanders. Look at the Commanders right now. Jaden Daniels is a future superstar. Great coaching over there. Great culture. They look like a completely different team than they looked like 2 years ago. They look like a complete flip from one of the worst organizations in football. Like, it's been a turnaround, and also I feel like you want to say something right now. I saw you open your mouth.
I was going to say, well, I didn't open my mouth to talk, but the news, I mean, we're going to make a video about this. I'm not going to say too much about it, but if you like what they're doing in Washington, their offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury, ex-head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, he is also being linked to the New York Jets head coaching job. I don't remember off the top of my head what the news is about him, whether it's – I'm sorry, I got it right here. Jets discussed interest in Cliff Kingsbury and also Arthur Smith. We're going to make a video on that, but I'm going to say right now, if you watch this far into that video, I actually hate both of those options.
Yeah, Kingsbury was a nightmare in Arizona, but
yeah,
that's a conversation for another day.
Yes, yeah.
Now, also, we spent a lot of time on Aaron Glenn because he's an option we've talked about less. Obviously, Matt did do a solo video on that as well, so if you want to check that out, make sure to, or Matt will show up outside your window one night. However, we also have Rex Ryan to just briefly go over as there is news. The New York Post revealed that Rex Ryan gets his shot to sell the Jets on a reunion on Tuesday. The New York Jets will interview their former head coach for his old job in Florida on Tuesday. Ryan is 62 years old. He led the New York Jets from 2009 to 2014. He went 46-50 with the team in the regular season, going 4-2 in the postseason, which is very, very rare. You guys will see why I'm laughing in a second. Leading the Jets to the AFC Championship in consecutive seasons. Also the only coach to ever coach a team that in the same playoff run beat Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Those are the team's last playoff appearances, obviously. And also, Rex Ryan spoke out on this. I can't even look at you right now. Rex Ryan said, "I'd like to coach the New York Jets." There's no doubt about it. I've let everyone know that I would definitely be interested in that job. Even though I've got a great gig, I think I have some unfinished business, especially with that franchise. That particular franchise, you know, my dad, Buddy Ryan, was there forever. He won a Super Bowl, and it's super close to me. I would get back in it if I thought I could make a difference, and I think I can make a big difference with this team. Now, glasses, Matt. Matt, put on the glasses for Rex Ryan. You got to be fancy for Rex Ryan. So, you look at it, and I would rather Aaron Glenn. I would rather Mike Vrabel. There's probably, I don't think they're getting Ben Johnson, which is why I'm not mentioning him. I'd rather those two over, I almost said Bill Belichick. I'd rather those two over Rex Ryan. But Rex Ryan was in That's My Boy, and he was a bookie, and the fat guy won the race. And that's a big thing to me. As you guys know, I want the Jets to have a fat head coach, and I think that is how they get brought back to glory. But in all seriousness, I do want to see the New York Jets, hire someone who's going to instill culture. I honestly think, and this goes for Mike Vrabel as well, and I think Aaron Glenn, but certainly Mike Vrabel, which is why Vrabel's my top option right now. I think it would take both Rex Ryan and Mike Vrabel all of 5 seconds to instill a culture in this team. The Jets are a team, they're a bunch of young guys who were just on successful college teams for the most part, or one of the all-time great quarterbacks and a wide receiver who was with him winning a lot of playoff games. You look at them, they're fiending for a guy who's going to instill a winning culture that the Jets don't have right now. Not a pat my back, you're all good, buddy, we'll get him next time type guy. You're going to get someone who's going to be like, no, it's not okay that you threw an interception right there. You throw another one, you're taking a seat. Stop acting like an idiot and get out there and play good football. The New York Jets desperately need that. I think that's very important right now for this team to get a guy who's not trying to be their friend, who's trying to be their coach and is trying to win games and give the Jets kind of that do your job aspect.
We just saw the Jets on Hard Knocks recently. I really wish there was someone in the room with a video camera recording the interview of Rex Ryan between himself and Woody Johnson, because I think Rex Ryan, I imagine that being a passionate interview. I imagine that someone who really, really, really wants to get the job is pulling out all the stops, everything, showing off everything that he's learned from being an ESPN analyst. Oh, I wish I could see it. I don't think he's going to get hired, but I really do want to see an interview. And if he was hired, I'm sure it would be a ton of fun to see what kind of culture he brought in. Maybe he doesn't lead them to very many, playoff berths, but it will be a lot more entertaining than what we've been treated to this season.
They'd also have the best coaching they've had since he last coached. Like, let's be honest. Is there anyone who'd be a better coach than Rex Ryan? Like, who coached after Rex Ryan left?
Yeah, no. So
Absolutely
no,
not.
Todd Bowles wasn't, Robert Saleh wasn't, and Adam Gase. I mean, does Adam Gase count? What he did, does that count as coaching?
Well, I'd like to throw Adam Gase off my balcony, personally. Dude, what if Rex Ryan just shows up to the interview, cracks a Bud Light, chugs it, and is just like, yo, let's do this thing. Like, you gotta hire him if he just walks in with that aura.
The thing is, you can't tell me that's not what he's gonna do, because
Dude, what if he does? Like, that's the hardest thing ever. Like, dude, he just shows up in a shirt like this, in his wait for it,
in his Sacred Heart graduation shirt,
in his Sacred Heart Senior Week 2023 shirt. What if he shows up in his Dr. Scholl's gear and is like, yo, my feet are fucking comfortable? I just fully cursed. And I'm absolutely going to make the Jets fans comfortable again. Like, that would make me go from, like, this size of you right now to, like, this. Dude, I would be going, like, out of my mind right now if they got hired. If they hired Rex Ryan from doing that. But since I just cursed, put on sunglasses, enlarged Matt, I think it means it's time to end this video. Guys, if you guys like the content, make sure to subscribe. Like this video, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, and go Fat people.